back of a mouse, nobody's thinking right now about what code convolution in the shield of that being is being created, both in the being that used to be a mouse that's now mouse ear, and about the being who may one day have that ear attached to its head and used to be a human and is now human with mouse ear. There are things happening here that are very unnatural, and these are things that are actually downstep processes involved with what the Metatronic code did on a much larger level. It took pieces of planets and stars and forced them together to make false planets and stars that could be used to have artificial gate systems that would be able to go between black hole systems and living systems in order to feed energy off the living systems. So we are now watching the death throes of what happens when the black hole Metatronic technology gets out of control. It is the defeat of Metatron. Metatron did not win. Actually, the Wisadrax took over the Metatronic beast machine, and Metatron was originally an Anu collective, which were of the fallen Anu races. And it's kind of funny because you make this big bad machine because you want to take over the universe, because you decided you were going to be master of the universe, because you were better than God and smarter than God, and God appointed humans as the guardians, and you don't like humans because you think they're stupid. And you decided you're going to use your big black hole to take over the universe and show God a lesson, and then somebody stole it out from under you. Whoops. It's like it's sad, but there's karmic justice in that as far as the collectives that really put everything they had into creating this beast machine. So what we're watching is these natural cells of energy in our Vecca system. The Cathara grid has broken off at the 11.5 point here. 12 is still up there, but it's not functional now. It's actually spewing energy because of it's like severing an artery, a frequency artery. This is now shifted over at this angle, and it's connecting to other things that we'll get into when we get into the maps in the back. What we are doing is any life fields that are capable of holding the frequencies of the rainbow, what's called the rainbow spiral, or the crystal spiral, or even what's called the Guff fall, which is a fall matrix that they don't have enough frequency, that they're not going to get caught in the fall, but they can get caught part way where they don't have to get sucked in to the Wisadrax black hole system. They will become a finite black hole system unto themselves. They will become sovereign in that, where they are self-sovereign, even though they are in black hole status. And if they abide by the Christic use of energy there and take certain agreements of Chris Code agreements with the hub races, the hub races will be able to create a one-way system where other falling matrices in the cosmos can actually, through the hubs, have some of their consciousness that is falling brought in as like a last chance station, a house kind of like, if you're dying, it's a nice place to go, a Christic matrix where there's not going to be wars, where nobody's going to try to body snatch you and take you over, where at least you can go in peace. And that is one of the potentials that some of the fall races still have, particularly the Anu races, that they may be Metatronic by now where they're not going to get out, but they don't have to fall Wisadrax. Some don't want to be Christic, and they made that choice a long time ago. We're going to help them with amnesty contracts so at least they can fall into the Wisadrax black hole who like Anu. And the ones who they have been holding their own soul groups and some of the human soul groups in controlling them through body snatch and a bunch of other things, when they let those people go, those people may have the ability to catch rainbow spiral. Some may be able to go crystal spiral at starfire, and some may not. And the ones who do rainbow spiral but cannot make the leap to crystal spiral when starfire occurs will end up in what is called the Christ Guff fall. They will be in a black hole system, but they will be protected as long as they uphold the Christic use of energy. They will be protected from falling into the Wisadrax system. And the Wisadrax system will not be kind to anything but its own that falls there. They're going to have a war on their hands immediately, if it doesn't even start before the fact of getting there, because you have Thetans, which are fallen Lyrans that sided with a certain group of what are called the Red Dragons. They are just made deals with the Wisadrax, and the Thetans turned over and cooperated with certain black hole people in the Wisadrax black hole matrix to activate the threshold. Then the Wisadrax found out that the Thetans planned to take over their matrix too once they got everybody fallen in there. And so they're not settling too well right now. So there's already a war brewing there. There are members of those races on this planet in powerful positions. Hopefully, we won't have to see any of this. Hopefully, it will wait to whenever the fall is, so maybe we can watch it on CNN from Eden. All right. What we will do anyway, down here, it is the density 1 body, and this other little body here, It actually spans this body. See this circle here? Now, if this is the radial body for density 1 for the density cathar grid up there, and this is the ethos grid down here, and this is the ethos density 1 shield, which means this is the ethos density 1 radial body. What's this one? There's this linking one, this linking body. And that is what they're easily referring to as the Eden body, because that is what is going to have to be activated to get those who can ride Starfire out. We will be activating this body, the Amareya flame, and the core flame, which is the Rachelet flame. This is where the Rachelet body that is capable of riding through, of literally pulling in with the inhale. It can go past all of these things that are falling and literally go through another rebirth cycle out with the natural matrix. And for the first time in many, many eons, the portions of this planet, of Eartha, and the consciousness here that are able to do this will get back into the natural time rhythms and natural time cycles that are inherent to the Christ body. Because our timelines have been all messed up, because the timelines have to do what time is. It has to do with the sequencing of frequency. How often, it's called base pulse rhythm. How often does a thing expand and contract? Because that will determine how much current it generates, how much quantum it generates. How often does it inhale all the way back to source and come back out again? These are time wave patterns that are set by the phasing of this crystal body structure. They're very specific. When you distort crystal body structure, it immediately begins to distort the time wave cycles. We've been trapped in time in this Vecca system for quite a long time, but there were still ways to get out. Those ways to get out are not going to be there for the ones who fall Wisadrak. They will be confined then to the Wisadrak, which is an old black hole system that fell before. They will help renew that black hole system and bring it new life, new quantum, new energy to feed off of for a time. But that Wisadrak system, because it is Metatronic, cannot go back. It would have to shatter and go back to space dust. So whatever pieces that were from one matrix could go this way, back to its natural matrix time wave, and whatever ones were from this matrix could go back that way. They need to go back along the path they came in on, and that applies to just about anything. All right, you need to go back along the path you came in on, which is imbued in your gene code, because it's imbued in your DNA template, because it is imbued in your crystal body structure. So all of this is very connected to very immediate things that have to do with your body, and also very large things. The large structures that make planets revolve around suns, and suns revolve in their galaxies, and all these things. These time waves are all about base pulse rhythms. How often? Expansion and contraction. How often do the frequencies flash off and on? How do they flash off into manifestation? And then, flash on into manifestation, and then flash off again as they inhale back to source, and then flash on again. Partakai flash off and on as they phase. These cells of the light body, and they're huge when you get into cosmic structure. That's only universal structure of the one density grid. These also flash off and on and phase just like little tiny Partakai units do. So time is an illusion, but it's a very real illusion when you're in a manifest system. When you are in certain base pulse rhythms, you will move forward through time. It has to do with energy circulating from low frequency, slow base pulse rhythm, to higher base pulse rhythm. And that will give you progressive accretion of frequency, which will give you expansion and growth in time, which will give you the experience of forward movement in a forward moving timeline. Now, you can also move backward in time. You can move sideways in time, too. Time bends, it loops, it twists. You can do all sorts of things with time, because time is simply a run of energy, like a line of Christmas tree lights flashing off and on at different rhythms. You can do all sorts of different things with it. And the fact is, it's all going on at once. All of these different places of space-time. Space-time goes together. Space and time are illusions created by consciousness focusing within a certain aspect of the natural cosmic crystal body structure. So as we begin the process of getting ready for Starfire, what we are doing is beginning to change the base pulse rhythm, or the rhythm of vibration that our core atomic structure is vibrating on, that our mental body, our emotional body, and our physical body is vibrating on. What we are doing through the Aurora activations is aligning now, for the first time, fully aligning our elemental bodies, our D2 level, the stuff we're physically made of here, with the Eartha base pulse rhythm. instead of the Earth shield-based pulse rhythm. We are making the step from being a finite Amente race, or post-Amente race, which was all Amente races down here were created as a result of the fall of Tara. It was the Amente rescue mission that was set in motion in order to assist, hopefully, in the re-evolution of this system, which did not happen. So we are getting the chance to step out of being a finite Amente race and into the base pulse rhythm of being a race that is being hosted by its planet called Eartha, hosted into the place long, long ago when it came out from the hubs. This is why we'll be able to go back. We are getting our encryption, regardless of what system we came from as an Amente race, whether if we came as a guardian or we came as something that was half fallen, trying to bioregenerate, doesn't matter. Because we're being given the gift of the encryption of the original Earth shield before that fall, the original part of Tara that this Earth shield was, and that combined with the original Eartha shield of SG3, which means we will be able to do the Starfire. Actually, we're probably going to get coding for SG1, 2, 3, and 4 in order to be able to do the Edan Rochelet body acceleration. So it's a fascinating process we're a part of. We're nowhere near ready to deal with this level of technicals when it comes to diagrams and things. There's lots of stuff that would have come before this, but there isn't time. So that's why, if it seems complicated, that's why, because there's not time. When we get to the other side and we survive this, then we'll be able to go back and look at the books. Then we'll be able to see the books that are not photocopied, that are actually done, like there are written books, there are written translations of these. But what's even more fun is just to go and sit in these certain accelerator seat spots and relax and breathe, and you can watch it all. And if you want to watch it outside, running around like a hologram, you can do that. There are spheres that you can look into and pick any point in history, any of your own incarnational histories. So books become a bit passé at a certain point. They're large and cumbersome and require paper type stuff. There are other ways. Imagine big holograms that illustrate every part of history you might ever want to see. All you'd have to do is think a particular part of history, and the vibrational encryption of that thought will pull it up into this huge sphere that you can sit back and watch. Wow. And it might even be one point in history. History is now. All of this is happening now. So if you're going to see history, say you want to look at a part of yourself that was one of your past incarnations, that is that part of yourself there now. There's a whole interesting shift that you will experience as you go into the hubs especially that has to do with time becoming less and less real. I think our workshops have been part of that training, actually. For people who have had issues with time and being on time, repeatedly, particularly grid work ones, have brought us to the question of, and me too, because if anybody, I think I get frustrated more than anybody else does. You guys have been very patient. But I said, can't we ever give a workshop on time? I just want to be on time. And they say, you are. Well, not according to what everybody thinks I'm going to be down there. You're exactly on time, guardian time. And we start to learn that the reality of time is guardian time. And you start to not be controlled by false time. We have such false time programs here. I mean, they can be convenient. At least you know when to meet somebody at the diner. You know what I mean? It can be a little bit weird. However, when you're constantly in open communication with anybody, everywhere, anytime you want to, at any moment, you don't worry about meetings quite so often because you don't have to. You can come. Time works differently once you're in a space that is not controlled by an artificial base pulse rhythm that is set by an artificial time clock. Even our precession of the equinoxes and all of those things that our textbooks here tell us are natural phenomena, these are not. They are distortions caused by the Metatronic beast machine. Even our tilt, our 23.5 degree tilt on the planet is not normal, which creates our ecliptic, which has to do with our equinoxes and all of those things. None of this is natural. This is the natural evidence of the mutation and the black hole structures of which we speak. So, anyway, back to this. Just so we know, we are going to be going out through this sphere of energy here. It is this body and the ethos body that will come together. This density 1 ethos body, they will come together. And what you're starting to feel with the ethos frequencies coming in on the skin is your density 1 body is starting to pull the frequencies of the ethos density 1 body in. They will merge together and they will form the Rochelet body with the activation of the Rochelet flame and a full Amarea flame as well. And it is through there they can go into the outer clusters that exist around here that get into those 15 cell clusters that every level has. All right, they're a part of the outer structure, and they're actually considered in the middle. They are considered the middle Edon domains because they come they come out from the hubs, and then the hubs, then the Edons create these structures that become the outer domains. So it's a process of what came first in the creation sequence, from source to the core to the hub inner to the middle Edons to the outer domains. So we will be going down through. This is the point where we will activate Rochelet body. You can activate a version of the density Rochelet bodies all the way up through, because each density level even has its own hub structure. But at this point, because all of the gate systems are going in reverse now, thanks to threshold, the threshold activation of the beast machine, these are the only viable gates left that can be used, and it is only because they are the gates that were once seeded with the Aurora force that has the ability to, you could say, mimic the original natural crystal coating for those gates in order to combine it with the natural earth field, so you can earth or Sala field. So these 4 gate systems will need to activate. They will be the culmination of the Aurora activation that will allow a full Rochelet body to be activated, not just a density one, but it will build its own density levels in here, and it will become the full Rochelet body. And I think that's, yeah, there's a name for that, and it has to do with the lights of Aurora stuff. They just got it in a different language, and I'll tell you if I get a translation on that. At some point we will. But anyway, next one. Yeah, that's just to remind us of what that looked like again. That was up close. This is looking at it again. Right here is the density. Right here is the ethos. All right. Here is that Edon structure. And I do believe when we do rotations, because remember, the PCM has now rotated over here, the ethos grid rotates with it. So these Cathara grids rotate like an arm. This would rotate like these two would rotate together. So we're still pulling up our ethos pillar, even though we're now over here. And you see Eros over here, but that goes with the PKA side. The PKA side has gone down here in its rotation. PCM has gone up here. And with the PCM has gone the Eros, and the ethos, and with the PKA has come the Eros. So we are still doing our pillar of power, and this is still up to us. Okay, this is still our north over here, even though when you look at these diagrams, it's on the side now. We are in this position, but this is still the top. This is our Cathara grid 12. This is our density 1 field down here. This is where our ethos density 1 starts, because the ethos grid is actually like the flip down opposite, where you have density 1 here, SG1, you have SG1 of ethos here too. So it goes density 1, density 2, density 3, density 4 ethos, and you have density 1, density 2, density 3, density 4 of the natural density currents. So that's how those structures work. There's tons more that they could have given us, and they really need to at some point, on understanding the ethos levels, because there's all sorts of currents that come in from those. But there isn't time for that right now. They're giving us what's most important to understand the activations we're going through and to do the grid work, that for those of us who want to be true grid keepers, to know what we're doing and how to do it. Next one, please.
7 o'clock. How much more time?
Is it 7? Oh, well, I could go for ages, but if it's dinner time, they can do dinner, and I can go for ages when we get back.
It's hot dinner.
It's hot dinner. Okay. Yeah, there's no reason to back up dinner time, because I can just go into overdrive when we get back from dinner, give you guys a break. Now, just so you know, this isn't stuff that most of you have seen these things before anyway. They're put together in a little bit different sequence than you might have seen them before. Again, we're creating a cognition wave that by the time you have these things seen in the level that you have here, there's certain levels of cognition brought together where when we get to the end, it will make a flow of cognition. So there will be a certain level of things that you will be able to pull in between the graphs and in between the lines. They will begin to anchor information yourselves that will help you understand stuff we don't have time to make graphs for. All right, so have a good dinner, and we'll see you at, 9 o'clock is when it's over, dinner? Yeah, 7 to 9 is dinner because of the lines, basically. Okay, so see you at 9, and we'll take it from there. Sure. Thank you. bringing in the aurora lights, and I think they're going to give live the overtone sequence when we do it all together, and I don't have that yet. They didn't give that to me yet, but I feel it around, so I have a feeling it's probably going to anchor, at the end of the evening. So I just wanted to, before we go into Graph City again, I just wanted to try to croak this one out, and I probably will be croaking, just so you know, because my voice has been falling apart since being in Arizona for any prolonged periods of time. It must have dropped 2 octaves or something, because it's so dry in the Phoenix area, and I'm just not used to it, I guess. But I was there for about 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks, something like that. And the first week it was all right. The second week it's getting lower and lower and croakier and croakier. So I will do my best with this. Pardon me if you get some very strange tones that eke themselves out, because my vocal cords are not in their usual shape. So they've been getting worse over the years, but Arizona has an amazing way of drying them out really thoroughly. Okay, so let's see. And what's interesting about this is the words and the melody came at the same time, which sometimes you'll get one first or the other first, and it takes a while to get them. This came quite fast. It doesn't have the English translation yet. Some of the sound tones are familiar from that Anahazi/Iani/Adonai kind of hybrid language that they've been using since we went past just dealing with the this 15-dimensional matrix. They've gone from Anahazi using partial Anahazi and then into the Ionic languages and into the Edonic languages from the Adonai side. And now they're probably, I think they're getting, I don't think it's in the bass tones, but I think when we get into the overtone sequences, there are going to be languages that correspond more so to a blend of the tones from this Akasha matrix and that adjacent one where the Aurora races originally came from. So if you hear some new tones, in and amongst the words, you'll know it comes from there. Okay, now this one, it's pretty slow, this one, but the overtone one seems to pick up with it. I don't know what the melody is yet, but it seems a bit faster than this one. It starts out slow, and it goes, then picks up a bit of a beat. Let me see if I can start this. I'm going to sit down for this so I can become invisible and just be a voice. Excuse me. It's easier for me to concentrate that way when I get new stuff. This is how I do most of the work, by the way, sitting cross-legged on the floor with everything spread out in front of me until my legs fall asleep, and like 12 hours later I try to get up and my knees are stuck in this position. Yeah. Logos are really helpful for that. All right. I'll hum the melody first, just to get myself back in that groove. Okay, and the melody goes... That's the bass tone melody, and the words go something like this. Bitu eteta ete, janate uetae. Bitu eteta ete, ishanu enashale. Ishmata elente dor ete, disala ente shadore. Sanuen le talusja ende utalehi, mita blende sunu ake. So they are the tones, and that is the bass tone run. When we sing them together, and we'll put them up so you can at least try to see them, And it's funny, they come out this way, by the way. When the music comes, there's a particular weird type of music notation. I don't know if you can see any of this. You'll see it when it's up on the Mylar. It's being made right now. But if you can notice any of the scribbles, there's an up-down thing happening, right? There's a type of musical staff lining they use with this. And I'm not sure what it was, but ever since before we could write, even with the walkout Katie part of myself, she knew how to do this. And that's how, when we don't, in lieu of a tape recorder, in order to remember them, because sometimes they come through so fast, if you don't catch the melody, it takes ages to try to find it again, because you'll start to get the harmonics coming in instead of the main line that came through first. And this, I left them on the sheets that you're going to get. We're going to, Az has gone off to get the Mylar and get copies made, because we're going to be using this tomorrow when we go to the mountain. And so you'll have copies of it, so you'll see it. And we left it with the notation, because what the notation basically does is it shows you over the, it's a little, this one's a little bit messy, but it just doesn't tell you what key it starts in. But it goes like, da 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 da. You can see it. Da 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 da. And they literally do dots, right? And then you can connect them, whether there's pauses in between them or whatever. So it's a notation that I've heard one person talk about something like this before, and that's why I think it's almost like an angelic musical notation that can be translated into any particular musical scale, wherever you may be in the harmonic universes. I've heard there's a person who's a pianist named Yanni. Yeah. And I remember hearing an interview with that person, and he described something very, very similar to this, that he actually composes all of his music in that. And he has really complex, beautiful piano music. So I just wanted you to see how it comes out originally, and that's why when you get your papers that it will have this on it. We will play more with this. If you want to, all right, yeah, okay. Not sure if that's them or you guys as a collective. Just go through it once just so you can feel it a bit more and have them do it with your own voice. Instead of worrying about the words until we have those up on the board, we'll just do the melody. You can hum or do da-das or whatever moves you, right? Okay. I'll do the first line is... Let's try it one more time. Next line is one more time. Then it's a repeat of the first line in the music. One more time. And then the fourth line is and I believe that is the verse tones. And then the chorus tones are the ones that pick up with line 5 that goes and line 6. That one stays up at the end, right? Where the first one drops down, line 6 to 5 drops down at the end, line 6 stays up at the end, and then line 7 goes so it's then line 8 is actually a repeat of the music of line 6, which is hey, there we go. Oh, okay. This is, believe it or not, well, can we get number 1 down a little bit just so we can show them? Because we're going to do this at the end. We'll go through this more at the end. But this is the notation that I'm telling you about, I was telling you about, right? Where it starts like the first line, it goes, wait, then back to this one. Then to 4. So you see how that notation works? You know, if you start to get, I think the reason why they're letting me, just having me show this notation to you, is because there will be times once we basically open the gates tomorrow, when you start to have the opportunity to initiate contact yourself and to communicate with them. It may start first in song, and you may start to find songs coming in from the aurora field. And there, you can do them phonetically as far as the words. Like if, you know, words come in and you can hear what they are, but you don't know what they mean, that's all right. And once you're in there, there's a certain thing they will do to where you can know you're safe, because other people can sing too, if you know what I mean. It's not always just the aurora ones that'll sing, or the Adonai, or the friendly ones. But they'll do something to let you know what it is. But if you start getting melodies even, you can really quick, if you don't have a tape recorder handy, do this type of notation just to give yourself an idea. It helps if you have lined paper, though, if you do it on lined paper, so you can tell which was above which. Yeah, if you're good at music to begin with, great, because you can probably just hear the tones in your head, know what note they are. And, you know, if you're a musician and you know how to, like, you know, do music with, like, real music, reading music and things, you could probably do it that way, and that's fine. But for those of you who aren't, you know, skilled in musical staffing and that kind of thing, this is a basic way of notation that you can start to get the songs, because there will be times when songs are given just for you by the various different ones of the contact groups that are going to be working with the aurora races. And those songs are more powerful than just about anything you can use, as far as you can go through 5 million graphs, and they can help a lot. But as far as the personal things that are keyed right to your own field, there will be parts of yourself that reveal parts of the songs that connect to the aurora field and things. So be prepared to become musicians, all of you. Whether or not you ever learn to play an instrument outside doesn't matter, because you are an instrument of music yourself. These, interestingly, came through. If I were going to pick an instrument that I would play this particular song set on, it came through very, very distinctly in what sound like Peruvian pipes. Right, like with a real wind sound behind them, and, you know, real ethereal, and it's really, really beautiful. I can't do that with my voice. Some people can, and they can actually sound like the pipe. So I just wanted you to know, sometimes you'll get it in piano, sometimes you will get full orchestration, and you'll be able to pick out all sorts. Sometimes it will be strings, and you will begin to hear the music or feel it first. Sometimes you may dream it first and wake up with songs in your head and go, where'd that come from? You may even find it riding along with a piece of memory. Say all of a sudden you remembered a song from 25 years ago. Where'd that come from? Popped up from your cellular memory somewhere because something's activating. And you may find behind it, if you don't get stuck in the loop of the memory loop, you know how a song keeps going around and around your head and you just want to make it go away and it still won't go away. One of those, right? If you say, okay, I get the hint. A memory file's been stimulated here. What's behind it? And look for the aurora movement behind it, and they can, those type of songs that you do know and your body already knows can serve as linking modes that will bring in the others. Like you might have, say, 3 tones in one of the new aurora songs that are coming through that happen to be the tones right in a particular part of a piece of music that you've heard over and over when you were younger or something. And that music will kick up because of those 3 tones. And if you listen and you find those 3 tones, they will actually lead you to the new song that's coming in, and it will actually overwrite any of the negative stuff in the memory file that goes with the songs, which means it'll help to burn off the karma imprint that might be around the time period in your life when that song got stuck in your memory. There might be issues that were connected to your life. You know how there's that whole body of sad songs we all have stored on CDs someplace in our cellular memory? You know, if we really want to cry, go have a glass of wine and think about them, and you can be miserable without much effort at all, right? Yeah, there's also the up songs, that get you going and get you charged and that kind of stuff. So these songs, they will have negative and positive elements to them as far as your own body pattern and its elemental aspects. So when those songs come up, realize that there's notes in the old songs that correspond to memory banks in your body itself that have to do with things that are coming up to clear and to rebalance at a higher level with the aurora force, and that behind those you will find that you will get a flow of some kind of music that may have words you've never heard before. All right? Some ways to stimulate that, they're saying now, is by using the aurora songs, and there's going to be a whole number of them. It is still fine to use the eartha songs as well. The aurora songs will actually amplify the effectiveness of the eartha songs that we've been using. The eartha, the Taran songs, all of those. It is still okay to use those because we will still use those codings, even though we're not doing the vertical ascent. We're doing the down and up around the way to go in ascent, because you can't go up anymore in this matrix. So anyway, I just wanted to share with you this. We're going to do it more together so we can really generate the strength of the seer pillars that we can generate with this type of sound as a group. And here we go with the heat flashes again. I'm going to do a striptease back to my pajamas and get on with the graphs so we can get through the technicals. I think I'd be better at this by now. There we go. Okay. Now, where were we? Oh, Happy had a good dinner. Of these things? Of this? That fast? Yeah? Yes, you may now. Thanks. Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure I caught it in case, because if something else comes in, it'll blow it right out of my head, and I won't be able to find it for months. Right? Oh. Okay, I don't have anything to play it on anyway, though. I don't have anything that plays little tapes like that. But thank you. Right. Thank you. As long as the tape is rolling and we've got it on, right? All right, as long as we've got it. I wouldn't mind keeping it around, though, in case by the end of going through this time wave that takes us through graphs at a very different bass pulse rhythm, right? As we go through graphs, it tends to pick up speed, and I talk like 500 miles an hour and that kind of thing. We're going to go back into that, and that might blow this temporarily out of my head, so it would be good to have it there so I can listen to it. Oh, yeah, that one. Right? So there is a process by which all of the songs come, and this is it. This is how it comes. This is one of the fastest, though. The only other one that was really fast, long, and clear was the song of Kemalahati that was on the bus in Greece. Yep. Right? I love those. Okay. What did I do right before that one? I talked about we were back to that. Oh, yes, we were past bones and balls and talking about the balls of the Vecca system and got off on tangents about what that looks like. Now, can we put the one right before up so I can take it from the ball point? Yeah, the one right before the pillar power. Yeah, they were going to do something kind of like that. Actually, our Vecca is. Just for a momentary recall, this is where we were going before dinner. We had been talking about the Vecca system and the basic light cell structure with the Huva bodies and the radial bodies. We have the ethos bodies down here. We've been talking about that and the fact that this Vecca is going to fall because it has severed its connection here at 12, has severed at 11.5, and it is now tilted at this axis, which we'll see what that means later, again, because you've seen some of these before. So this is just where we had left off. And we went back, we breezed through Pillar of Power, the fact that put that one back up just for a minute, please, because I'm keeping the sequence. And and what you just saw was actually this bit of this grid. And remember, this is the Pillar of Power, where the inhale is when they all come together in the center and form one Cathara grid there, and at the same time these come in, and then the exhale is when they spread out again. And that's the natural living matrix. This one here would have a large ball around it, and that would be from D1 to D12. This is the one where I said at this point it has shifted here, and it is going to go into fall. And that's the one that we're going to activate down here, the area of the Edon cell that is the thing that links the ethos grid down here with the PCM density grid, and from density 1 to density 1, and it creates the Rochelet body that we are able to ride Starfire in. Now again, this PCM and its ethos have actually done the rotation to over here, so we're actually stuck here at this point, and the PKA system and its Eros have rotated down here. The PKA system also broke off, but that was in 2003 when we went through Hitharo. Their matrix fell into the Wiesedrag black hole, which is on the PKA side, and the top of their matrix limped through into the rotation, and their Eros is still there, but it can't phase because it no longer has from here to here in its structure. So we are part of it. We are not the first to fall in this particular drama that we're in, and it's once you have a parallel fall, it is pretty certain that you're not going to get its other side out without, other than in pieces. And that is what's happening. We did try, with all the efforts that were made in the grid work that has been done since 2003, but it is reaching its final end where it will shift, and at least we do have, thanks to the Aurora force in the planetary shields, in the Earth of planetary shields, we do have the ability to activate this body here that links the density in the ethos, and that will become the Rochelet body, or the Edon body, that will allow us to go back into the Edon cell expansions when Starfire occurs. And when Starfire occurs, the other side of Starfire is Starborn, where the outhale, the inhale is the Starfire inhales, and the Starburst, or not Starburst, the Starborn comes back out, which is another set of the units. We'll see what these star words have to do with the natural creation sequence. But we can just remember, we're in this structure. This is our Akasha. These are our Vecca quadrants. These are the etheric counterparts to our Vecca quadrants. Next one, please. Okay, now back to our Vecca. This is, again, our Akasha is here. The system here is our Akasha. The parallel Akasha would actually go out this way. Right, so our Akasha system would run here, this way, and the parallel runs on the other side that way. So they're like plates on top of each other with different rotations, but they're still the same structure, just at different rotational angles, and they rotate through each other. Remember, where there's Cathara grids, where there are bones, there are balls. The balls are the light cells. The structure of the light bodies for that particular area of your own light body and of the universal, galactic, universal, and cosmic light body, as well as the planetary. What this is showing simply there are what are called chambers. This is the Laetore Seer chambers. When the aspects of when the Cathara grids of the Vecca system phase and pull in and the inhale, they ride through these chambers of light. We have the Laetore chambers that run vertically, and let's say, I think it has been a long time since I taught these, and this way, I have a lot of detail in here. Anyway, we've got, I forget which is vertical, which is horizontal. It's all in the K23 manual with a million other things of detail that at this point, it's just nice to know it's there, but you don't have to remember it. Just to remember that there are these seer pillar chambers that run, that we talked about in other workshops earlier when this stuff came through, of how they were formed through the processes of the templates of the Eka-Vecca system forming. So all that information is available. We also have these horizontal chambers, not horizontal, I mean diagonal chambers. This one is called the Rod of Rama, I believe, and this is the Rama passage. This is connected to some of the gate systems that are still going to be used in this particular EVAC system, which are the Polarian gate systems. We'll see those in a little while when we get through a certain block of material and back into what is happening with the grids. So that information will be contained there. Just so you know, we've got the chambers And they all have names, and all the pieces of everything in this has names. And the names have names. And that's why, at this point, my brain is so overloaded with data detail, because I'm the one that has to bring these down and translate all of the little pieces, and they all have to be right, because they're all congruent with the ones before and the ones that will come later. So pardon me if I don't remember the details anymore. If I can remember the whole program, that's a good thing, because really I need to upgrade my RAM at this point. Yeah. What was? Yeah, I can't read it though. I don't have my glasses. Yeah, so at this point, yeah, okay. If I start reading those, though, I'll have to read all the others, and yeah. If you'll notice, there's lots of words that I'm not going to read on all of these charts, because if I do, it will take 500 years to get through to where we need to this evening. It's not as if you guys are a new group. You've seen lots of these before in different contexts. If you've missed some of them because you didn't have some of the classes they were held in, all of these are at least available on the various programs that covered that block of material. So the detail has been covered. And all of those bodies that we just looked at in the VECA system alone, all of those have names. They each have names. They each have names of the classification of the body they're in. There are names. There are spin directions. There are polarity balances. All those things. That information is... Yeah, I agree. That is with it. So we do know the detail is there, which is my point. Right? Anyway, all of those things come down to, yes, that is the structure of creation. It's the structure of our own light body system. It's also a structure of the galactic, planetary, galactic, universal, and cosmic light body structure. When it comes down to, every time you see a Cathara grid, you are dealing with a set of stargates. We've already gone through all where the local stargates are on our planet, also in our galaxy. Stargates are simply vortex systems that when they activate, they turn into, this is not a great drawing, they turn into first a large set of vortices, one up, one down, and then a set of two that go this way, diagonally. The diagonal ones actually are, they run horizontal and they can flip diagonal. They're on a horizontal shield. It's the basic structure of what your chakras are supposed to look like as well, where you're not just supposed to have a cone coming from the center out here, making a circle here, and then another one in the back. You're supposed to have two more coming from the same place, from the same crystal seal in the center, coming out to the sides, and then one cone going up and one going down that connects to the one going up from the one below, etc. Now, what we've been doing is living with mutated chakra systems because of the mutation. And one of the things that this has done is create totally twisted gender polarity balances in the bodies of everything on this planet. It's part of the reason why the unnatural condition of survival of the fittest has become a part of what appears to be natural evolution. It's why things are running around eating each other, including humans eating breakfast. Right? There are natural worlds that exist where there are no predators. There are no chasing things around and whoever wins, gets dinner that day, where you don't see, it's literally places where lions and lambs and humans can lay down together and talk telepathically, and you don't have any of the food-based systems like you do on this planet. If you look at what goes into food, to the process of eating on this planet, how many trucks, how much gasoline, how many farms, how many dead things, how often, just to get a meal put in front of you. It's really frightening. If you remember, once upon a time, we were breatharians, where we just simply get our energy from breathing because of our natural spark systems and our natural light body structures. Eating is actually eating food. It is like, enjoy it while you can. You can eat holographic food in other places, but you don't need the actual substance once you get your natural function of your body systems back. And actually, you might progressively get more grossed out by it, especially when you start to really cognate food and what it was before it was on your plate. Not just animals and things that have a face. Even if you're a vegetarian, I hate to tell you, vegetables have faces too. It hurts them just as much as the animals. Now, some of those races of consciousness that come in as plant people and as animal people that we right now consume as food agreed to assist us in this way, and they actually get an assistance in the same process. If you happen to be a cow that gets portions of your body, and therefore your shield, eaten by a human who is on an ascension track, you will get a part of yourself and part of your karmic issue, whatever it was, transmuted, because yes, cows have karma too. All right? Everything has a karmic imprint. Doesn't mean it was bad. It means it got distortions from being in whatever planetary environment it was in. So there's a blessed side to eating in a system where that is still necessary, where there are races of consciousness that agreed to come in to help themselves and to help others. So certain types of food want to be food because they want the opportunity to actually ascend through your field by becoming a part of your body. Other things came in to be food because those who created them wanted to make sure they could get into your body. So some of the food you eat actually helps body snatch. Right? There are books that, yeah, we haven't gone there yet. And there are books that have to do with where plants and animals came from, what soul groups manifested them, what planets they came from, what ones are indigenous to Earth and to Eartha, and to Tara, which ones came in from Nibiru, about 80% at this point. Yeah, there was a lot of imports from Nibiru. They didn't have those don't bring plants across laws then. I should have. All right, now that doesn't mean they're negative. Nibiru, once upon a time, was a not too bad place to be. Yeah. But there will be times as we go into trainings that have to do with elemental command, which has to do with you reclaiming your body cells, the part of your consciousness that is them. There will be times when we start taking a look at food stuff, what it is, what stuff is actually supportive of your ascension and what stuff isn't. That doesn't mean you have to go on 6-month hunger strikes and drink only water and lemon juice. Not at all, because it's important to keep the body balanced and feed it while it needs to be fed, but not overfeed and not underfeed. Exercise is hugely important in this process. It doesn't mean you have to become an exercise junkie and turn yourself inside out and sleep on your treadmill. It doesn't mean you have to do that either. So there will be the physical aspect of programs that we will cover. At the end of this run of graphs, at the end of the workshop, I'll let you know the first aspect of elemental command that we're going to cover that has to do with learning to manage your own energy systems. And it might be a bit of a surprise or not. Anyway, next one, please. Okay. This is to remind you that with all those structures, where we talk about cosmic body, universal body, all the light body structures, the bones and the balls, what they culminate in on a planetary level and a galactic level, or a solar system, is a solar system that would have very specific configurations of Merkaba structure. It would have a Merkaba structure of vortices that are the natural circulatory system by which the energy currents run up and down through the systems. You would have, in the PCM universe, it's supposed to have electrical top Merkaba spiral that goes 33 1/3 clockwise spin, and you're supposed to have a bottom counterclockwise 11 2/3 spin Merkaba. That's in the PCM system. What you will always have in a Christic system are a set of Merkabas that are counter-rotating. One will go clockwise, one will go counterclockwise. You will not have a set that are phase-locked into top and bottom going in the same direction. That is a configuration that is specifically part of the Metatronic code, where it phase-locks the two spirals. The one that has the dominant energy overrides the other one, reverses it and turns it around, and it begins the formation of a phase-locked capsule of energy that can no longer breathe, and it cuts off the natural circulatory system with the eternal life universal currents. The phase-locked Merkaba structure is the primary structure that has been taught in the other Merkaba trainings that are popular on this planet, and that was one of the first things we had to reveal, was if you want to understand what ascension really is and how to do it and how not to get caught up in the Metatronic mess on this planet. One of the first things that got us in trouble in the New Age movement was we did expose how natural Merkaba structures work. That is just a simple biveka Merkaba. There are double biveka Merkabas. There are Akasha Merkabas, which look like umbrellas. I don't have a picture of those here. We did Merkabas all over the place. Merkabas are part of the entire light body structure. They actually circulate energy from the light cells that are on the bones, and they circulate it through the system. So every light body structure, every light cell will have its Merkabic structure, and it will also have its shield structures, and it will have fields around it and within it. There's a primary Miage field, or magnetic field, inside between K5 and K8, Cathara centers 5 and 8. You have your Trion field between 11 and 2, and you have your rayon field or void field between 12 and 1. And then there are other fields that go into the primal light fields. So this is a natural structure of a natural universe in a cosmic structure that can breathe when it's functioning naturally. We started all of our healing of the bodies and getting to be able to run D12 frequency by first manually restarting our Merkabas on the right spin. And that was a riot because we're running around doing dances all over the place. You know, with people like, watching us, a bunch of weirdos, right? Because we were doing tone dances and literally getting the Merkabas to go in the right direction, getting the spin set, and then having to use the body to actually give it enough momentum to go in the direction it was supposed to override the currents that were trying to take it into the Metatronic spins. So it's been a long journey since there. We've done a lot. We've done Lotus Arcs and all sorts of things, which we won't cover tonight because it's already there and it's in K23 and 4-ish and that kind of thing. But just remember, this is a natural structure of a living universe, or living planetary structure, and solar system structure. Because when you have natural Merkabas, natural planetary structures, and natural solar structures, you have all of the north axis, which is always the top. So north is self-contained. It's actually, we won't get into north, south, east, and west right now, but north will point to the center, all right, in the grids. So north for us would be the 12, the Cathara Center 12. Where you see the 12 or the 12 or the 13 will be the north for that particular Cathara grid. So the north is supposed to be vertical to the planets are supposed to be vertical, and so is the solar Merkaba. So is the solar staff. We're talking about the staff that runs vertically. That means the rod runs horizontally. These are the primary currents that run through systems. Right now, our planet is tilted. It has its geographical north, runs the 23.5 tilt that gives us the ecliptic, which is not natural. It should be running the same axis. If the solar axis is this way, so should all of the planets in this system be this way. If you ever really looked at an astronomy book and saw the mess this system is in, I think it's Uranus is on its side, where it's literally rotating on its side in relation to the solar axis. This system is a mess at this point. Pluto is not even on the same plane. It's way out there someplace tilted. The orbits are all messed up in this system. It is because of the black hole technologies. There's evidence everywhere of the damage to this system that we speak of. But you can't tell that those things are not natural unless you see what natural is supposed to be. And that can only be revealed through cosmic structure. Real cosmic structure, where you see the whole thing. And it's a lot of detail, but at least it gives you the picture. It shows you, yes, there is this information that shows how pieces fit. And once you see what it's supposed to look like, you realize what you're looking at here and what science is telling you here is not normal. And fortunately, there's still something we can do within the context of the mutated universe that we're living in. Not as much as we hoped, but at least we can get out, which is a good start. So this is a natural system. There would be a communication of arcs, of energy and consciousness that would circulate through the staff lines of the planets, and from the solar to the planetary. The planets would all talk to each other. It would be an open broadcast system. And it would naturally, on its own, at different times, each planet would go through its little, let's say, starborn cycles, where it went back in and then came back out renewed. And then the whole system at certain points in the cosmic clock rotations would go in together and then come back out renewed. Our system has not been able to do that. In fact, our system has not been able to do this since in density 2, Earth's density 2 counterpart, Tara, which was Universal Stargate 5, also known as Alcyone in the Pleiades, when that exploded and part of it blew off, the Amenti rescue mission was set, which means parts of Tara were harnessed in electromagnetic fields. And there was something happening in density 1 that allowed for the Amenti mission to occur. This was 550 million years ago when that implosion occurred on Tara. If it weren't for the fact that in density 1 was due for a density level starfire cycle, where there was going to be an inhale. It was because of the dynamics present during that time period that there were actually conditions in the gate structure that would allow for the harnessing of the fragmented pieces of Tara and for them to be reconfigured down through USG4 and the Iumbi point down into density 1 and tacked in to the density 1 grids as a quarantined solar system that could re-evolve the pieces back up into Terra to reassemble the body of Terra, where then density 2 and then perhaps the rest of the Vecca could eventually go through its own natural starfire cycle. So this has been a very long time. We've been down here. That's what a natural system should look like. It's been a very long time since the system in density 1 has looked like that. And it will look like that again after starfire and after the rebirth cycle that occurs following a starfire. And those of us who go through starfire will have the option, if we want to come back out again. No, thank you. I'll write, we'll write letters. Right. Little arcs of energy. Hi, hope you're doing all right out there. No, we don't want to visit, thanks. Anyway, next one, please. Now, instead of looking like a natural system, a solar system, what we have in our Vecca is this problem. We've got these two axes. This was originally before the spin, before our PCM went this way in its rotation. This was where our PCM was still in this axis, and the PKA was still in that axis. This is just our Vecca quadrants inside of our Akasha. These were wormhole interfaces. All right, they started with a whole bunch of mess that started with the fall of Lyra 250 billion years ago. And that we have a long history that we have pieces of all over the place. And we're going to get a little bit more of that at the end of tonight. But it was what occurred during the fall of Lyra that has allowed for the rest of this to happen. These other axes that are running through here, they're not exactly accurate as far as the drawing goes, particularly since they've been stretched out by the photocopier a million times at this point. But they're showing you there's an interface that was occurring between black hole systems. It started out there is a black hole system connection, a wormhole connection that runs this axis, and it is called the WISA deck, not DRAC, but WISA deck wormhole system. And it's connected to the WISA deck black hole system, which we'll talk about in a second, that's over here. All right. So this is a wormhole structure that connects through into this axis that connects through into something that's actually way over here. We're over here. This is the level 4 Eucharista body map, and this is our location here. These wormhole structures interface from way over here in an Akasha quadrant called the WISA quadrant, where there are fallen races. Part of the reason why there are fallen races and there are black holes in this quadrant is because they tried to help us over here when we had the problem with the fall of Lyra. Part of the reason we had the problem with the fall of Lyra is because we tried to help a certain group of races that were on our Adore side that had fallen, and this matrix was actually birthed in order to assist them to re-evolve. They were called the Buddhara. Yeah. So we're all connected in this very messy drama. It was an attempted healing drama, and it just seemed to compound itself and get worse and worse and worse. But we are all family somewhere, which means because we're all the only ones that were actually quite far removed were the ones over here, the Wisas. They got involved through a set of events where they attempted to assist after the fall of Lyra in bioregenesis of some of the fallen races here, because they felt that because of the strength of their matrix that they could. Because ours was a rather young matrix compared to the age of theirs. But that didn't work out too well, and they ended up with a bunch of the ones who tried to help us actually becoming fallen races, and then they became Metatronic races when there's all sorts of other interactions that took place. This stuff began before the fall of Metatron, which was 150 billion years ago. So we had the fall of Lyra 250 billion years ago, the fall of the Buddhara way before that, and then 150 billion years ago, there was the fall of the Metatronic Collective, which was a collective of what are known as the Anu, which are a group of fallen Elohai. Okay, so there's the Elohai Elohim, which are one of the natural founders races in our time matrix, and then there is the Anu Elohim, which are the fallen versions of them that ended up in a fallen system with mutated DNA and twisted consciousness after the fall of Lyra drama. So all of this history has been covered before as far as those things. It is that history that has led to the point where we are now. There was a progressive building of the beast machine, the black hole machine, through many, many eons from that 250 billion year ago point. The beast machine machine in earnest started to be developed after the fall of Metatron 150 billion years ago. There were conditions set for the development of the beast, but the Metatronic code had actually not been deciphered at that point. And after the fall of Metatron, it's called the Metatronic code because it was the fallen Metatronic collective that figured out how to use the black hole technologies in an antichrystic way that it could feed off of the natural crystic spirals and create the beast machine, which had the intention of creating the beast machine in the first place was to eat as much of the natural creation as possible in order to show God that they were going to be God instead, because they didn't like the fact that God set rules that they had to follow, and if you broke those rules of energy, there were consequences. They didn't like the fact that there were consequences of energy, and they decided they would be better at being God than God was, that they were going to be the creators in this universe, in this cosmos. So they attempted to take over the cosmos from Creator, which shows the twisted thinking involved in the first place. You can be brilliant and really twisted anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, we are in this situation. All of these things, we have at different times revealed different parts of the beast machine. This is called the Wesedak black hole matrix. The black cube matrix it's a structure of distorting natural Cathara grid structure, a natural Stargate structure, into a cubed matrix where it forms literally interwoven cubes of energy, and these are built on what's called the Metatronic cube technology. It's not just the Wesedaks, it's also the Wesedraks. They have one too, and they're competing with each other. So these were showing structures. They were showing implant structures, the black hearts of Metatron, the eyes of Metatron, all sorts of different parts of this beast machine. We've covered it ad nauseum at this point. But what we need to understand is it has interfered with the natural ability and breathing cycles and life cycles of our Vecca system, and is because of that that we are now facing the fall drama. Over here, when we talk about the races of the dragon and where they came from, when they became dragon races when they entered our Ettore matrix over here, but where they entered from was over here in the Wisa side. They were one of the Wisa-related races, Christic races, that had tried to assist in the fall of Metatron races, where after the fall of Metatron, there were certain ones of after the fall of Lyra, there were certain races of Wisa that offered to take in some of the worst, the most damaged ones, to try to bioregenerate them and get their DNA templates back so they could still return to the Christic potential. And those races had agreed that they wanted to do that. So the Wisas got involved. One of the Wisa groups was what we referred to as the Bendi groups, the Bendi races. They were actually a hominid aquatic bird race from this matrix over here, and they tried to assist and didn't make it. They fell like some of the other Wisa races, and they became a race called the Equeri, which had their image until they were albino too, by the way. They had the Equeri, the fallen group of the Bendi races, had the Bendi image until they were later raided by one of the Anu raider races going through what was called the Arimathea wormhole that led over into the Wisa matrix. And they were severely raided and abused by the Anu. And the Equeri had fallen, but they had fallen what was called Christ Guff status, where yes, they fell and they were going to go back as space dust, but they had chosen to fall in grace, where they had no interest at all in Metatronic codes. They didn't even know about it at that point, but they were doing one of those last chance kind of put out to pasture matrices where you really get into like art and beauty and all those kind of things because you're going to use your limited resources wisely until the time comes. And they were very at peace with the laws of the Christ. They didn't blame anybody for their fall. They knew they had tried to assist something, and they pushed the envelope a bit as far as the laws of energy, were concerned, and they accepted their consequences without anger or without vengeance until something occurred. When the races over here, the races of fallen Metatron, raided through the Arimathea wormhole and took over their matrix, the first thing that happened was they lost their Guff status, which means they damaged their energy systems in their black hole so severely that they could no longer hold a hub connection, which is necessary to have a crystose matrix where you can still get incoming ones that, you can give them a last chance place to be, and at the same time it gives you more quantum in your matrix, which holds off the point of when your matrix explodes, that kind of thing. They lost their Christgau status. And that, if that wasn't bad enough, there were also forced hybridizations done, and it mutated their race lines into what they considered very horrid and ugly. It was ugly what was done there. I mean, I'm getting the hair standing up on my arms with this one. They had a right to be angry. They had a right to feel badly. But what they didn't have a right to do was go after the entire races of Anu. And they decided that they would, if it was the last thing they did, even if they destroyed themselves in the process, they would destroy the disease called Anu. And that itself is almost like a trace of being like Anu, because that is what the Anu have tried to do, is destroy other races besides their own because they didn't think anybody else was worthy of being there. And unfortunately, the Equerry races went into that state, and that started a whole bunch of things that created dragon lines over here that we'll get into later. But I wanted to show you, though, the relationship in the Akasha Aya maps in the bones, where our Akasha is and where theirs is. When we're talking about the races, the Bendi races, they had come from over here. They're Christic races that came from over here, some of whom who fell. When we talk about the Ishanue races, these were also from here, but they didn't fall. After a certain point in the dramas involving the Bendis coming over here, tracking and trying to destroy the Anu and all what that created, there were different races from the Bendi lines, and then finally races from the hubs over here that incarnated here through the Bendi lines and then came over here as guardian committees, and they came into density 1. They came into density 1 to guard the gates here because that is the one place that if a matrix falls that you can still get out from. If it cracks from the top, you can still, as a last chance, get out on the bottom. They became the Aurora races that came over here. So these guys all have coding from this matrix, and they had to incarnate through cycles to get through here, because if they passed through the wormholes, they would pick up the twisted Metatronic codes. So these were hub cross-throughs, where they crossed through incarnating through different race strains, taking an outer race line from the outer domains and theirs, taking it into the Edons, bringing it through the hubs, taking it through the cores, bringing it back out through the Edons here to birth out. It was a very long process to get here, and they did that because they realized that there was a lot of the Wiesa and the Wiesa that had fallen blamed our guys for having messed up people to begin with. And it was because of our guys being messed up that they ended up in a black hole. And that was not exactly how it was. It was like, excuse me, you did offer to help. We told you certain things weren't supposed to be done. That, yeah, it sounded good on paper, but it wasn't going to work. We warned you not to do those things, but you were going to prove how much you knew about genetics anyway and did it anyway. That's why the Wiesa fell. Now, when it came to the Bendi races, they didn't look at it that way. They saw it was unfortunate what had happened with the Wiesa, and they were trying to reach their own kind, or they were like not the Wiesa are not of the same form, and neither are the Wiesa, but they're of the same matrix area. Right? They're the same region, but completely different race strains. Once they had all been Christic race strains, so there was a hatred that was being carried by the Wiesa toward the ones in our matrix, as if we had, because we sent them ones that they said they wanted to help repair, and that went bad, and they fell because of it. All of a sudden, that was our fault, and that was not clear thinking. And the Bendi races realized that they never had an issue with this. They have been trying the whole time to give support to the entire matrix, to bioregenerate anybody and anything that was capable of it and wanted it. But what it turned into, this fiasco, it turned into a fiasco. It turned into a period of time that we haven't talked about called the Veka Wars, which were not just about these Vekas, but they were about all of these Vekas going at each other, where there was warring taking place between this matrix and this matrix via the wormhole structures that had been created originally by the Anu races from our race lines. So just so you know where the Bendi lines come from, the Bendi lines were also the ones that carried that hominid, albino, aquatic bird model that was used as the model, not the prototype. Prototype would imply that there was gene code involved. But just like, we like the way that looks, we'll use our gene codes over here and try to make something like that as a bioregenesis Christic race. That's where the Orpheum angelic humans came from, and the Taurinaceum line that came out of them. So they were the, let's say, the image that was aimed for when the guardian human race lines were created here. The Azarids were created before that, though. So anyway, I just wanted to understand the connection and where that is in the location in the maps. All these things we covered this ages ago that just talked about the distortions in the radial body fields that were caused by the various parts of the mutation. So I just wanted you to remember that, and mostly just to remember when we talk about those certain races that are coming from the adjacent matrix, this is the adjacent Akasha matrix over here, and that's where the Wisa holes, both of them are. You have Wisa Drac and Wisa Dec matrix, and just like we have our PKA side in our VECA and our PCM side in our VECA, so do they. The Wisa Decs are in the PCM side of their VECA, and the Wisa Dracs are in the PKA side, and that had to do a little bit with the influence of whether they were going to, whether rating and gates were being connected between our PKA side of ours or our PCM universe. So anyway, that's where they come from, and we are all related because of the history that we have shared for the last 250 billion years, basically, in both matrices. Next one, please. This is going back to structure just quickly to remind you of where you have all of those bones and all of those balls and those cells. You also have the shields. Each Cathara grid implies 5 shields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is Cathara Center 1. That's Cathara Center 12 up there. The shields create vortices of energy because the shields have around them what are called nodes. The nodes are transmitters. So there's a continual set of transmitting that occurs between the nodes of one shield and the center of the other. And there are the ones that go down. These are, I won't even get into trying to read all the words on these. I just wanted you to visually remember these structures. And then there are these. Now these form the Merkaba structures, right? These sets of vortices. These sets of vortices are formed by the nodes making lines that actually, like if you had them all stationary and they weren't spinning, you'll see some of these graphs where they are just straight lines running down between the points on the shields. Each shield has 12 nodes. There is a relationship of energy transmitting up and down between the nodes on each shield. It is the spinning of the shields and the connection of the cores to the sum of the lines of energy that come off of the nodes that create the vortice systems that become the density level Merkaba fields of the circulatory system. You've got these that come from nodes connecting to the one, well, shield node connecting to the ones in the shield below it. They create the bottom vortices, which would be, in the PCM universe, the counterclockwise magnetic vortices. And these are the ones that connect the top, where you have a shield and where its node lines connect to the center of the shield above it. They connect the electrical clockwise spinning vortices that form the top of the Merkaba fields at the density level. So when you see the structures to come, just remember they come from the simple structures of these things. These are all part of your anatomy, all part of the universal anatomy and the cosmic anatomy. Can we go up here a little bit, honey, please? Just remember, this is what those two look like together, where you have the top ones and the bottom ones on each of the density levels. Inside of each of those, you have your two Huva bodies, your Huva body and its etheric counterpart, and the Huva body for the next level up, and the radio bodies that were on center with the shields. So all of these structures go with all the ball structures, that go with all the bone structures, and there's also, of course, the side that goes with the PKA side. This is our PCM structure, PCM density. There'd also be the one that goes with the PKA side that would be running like this, but horizontally. And when you phase them together, they create this structure, which is the template and the bone structure and the shield structure for what is called the crystal body. And the crystal body, when it's fully activated, becomes what is called the chariot of fire. The chariot of fire and the crystal body are the beginning levels of activation that allow you to do ascension, but only up and down within the within the Eukaryorista outer domains, when we go into the levels of activation of the Christ star body, these are the ones that allow you to go and ride the edons and go into the hubs and those kind of things. So even the crystal body that's born of this is just the outer domain ascension vehicle. This becomes even more with the Christ star activations that we are beginning now with the Aurora Force activations. Next one, please. Okay, in those structures, you will also see that there are the natural magnetic fields of the planet. We've covered this before. There are levels of them for each embedded level of a Cathara grid. You will have what is called the Yan-Yun flow, and it is not the yin-yang flow, because the yin-yang flow has to do with a tube torus, and a tube torus has to do with the Metatronic code that creates where there should naturally be a flow. There is a flow of energy, magnetic energy, that should come up. It should be on a counterclockwise spin from the bottom. Should come up this way. These should be the magnetics, and then they come back down that way. And the electricals should be coming in clockwise, coming down this way, circulating through all the anatomy, all the Cathara grid centers, and going back out that way. That creates the natural configuration of the Yan-Yun flow. The yin-yang flow is a condition that results from a number of things, one of which is the rod currents that allow you to connect with the antiparticle side being blocked, where it creates a dome shape here. It creates what you'll see later is called the poison apple magnetic fields, which look just like the magnetic fields that in all the science books show you the basic structure of what the magnetic force fields around our planet are. They are referred to as the poison apple magnetic fields, and they are a product of the Metatronic code. This is a natural structure that should be around and within our planetary fields. As we get back the natural structures of our Christic bodies, we will progressively be opening the Yan-Yun flows within the level of our body. They will first start to activate within the molecules and the atoms of our cells before the full fields can activate around us. As we begin to work with the chakras, which we will be beginning to do in, I believe, as of the Virginia Beach workshop, and I think that's in October. Okay, that's going to be Rochelet training level 1 with some interesting stuff. We're going to work with the chakras there, and we'll begin to restore these flows to the chakras and to the entire field to expedite the processes involved with the Christ star activations. Next one, please. I won't even get into the lotus points. That's in there too. We're doing lotus points in Cathara 2-3. They all fit into where those flows connect into the central vertical column and how they circulate through the bodies. All right, this is just what is referred to as a living lodum flow, where it shows all those magnetic fields, those electromagnetic fields, and in their levels of various embedded ones, because you have one for each of the densities, and each density has 3 little Cathara grids. It's like D1, D2, and D3 level, and then you have density 1, density 2, density 3, density 4, density 5. There's lots of layers to this. This is when you would have the pillar of power that has the ethos and the ethos and the eros and the primal light field and the density field on both sides, inhaling together, and that would form the activated. Now, they would inhale only the outer grids. This is different than the full inhale and pull back that happens when you do starfire. This is not yet going into hubs or cores. This is just when you go into your Eka. All right, so if you're in a Veka system and your Veka system pulls together and it goes back to its Eka core, that's still not going in to the full cores that are from the hub, that go into the different layers, domains of creation that are beyond the outer layers. So that's the beginning, anyway, of the natural flows of any natural body. And somewhere in there, you would have you, right? Your physical body, or the planet's physical body, would be in that little tiny center point, actually. I believe the physical manifestation aspect occurs in each Cathara grid between what on the Cathara grid, if you look at this as the 6.5 point, and you look at the Cathara center 8 and Cathara center 5 as the meage field, if you look at 7.5, halfway between those two, and 5.5, another half step up, this is, I believe, the Ethra field, and in from there you would get the physical manifestation in the 6.5 region. So if your tiny little body is this big, all of this is just the beginning part of your immediate Veka level, Eka-Veka level of your light body structure. because you have a light body structure. And each of those parts of the light body hold a part of your consciousness. You are a collective. We all are. Source is a collective that also thinks as one. So when we begin to integrate more of our levels of self, we begin to know the rest of our family of consciousness. We have our own family tree of consciousness. The fact that we exist down here implies that we have those expanded levels of self out of which we originally came. And not only do we have the ones on the outer domains, but we have the ones from the middle Edon domains and the inner hub domains and the core domains, out of which all of those came originally in their individuation from Source in the first place. So we are very big, each one of us. Our fields are massive. Even when they're mutated, they're really large. So we're just going back into beginning we started these activations of beginning the process of clearing enough of the crystal body to begin activating some of the natural crystal body structure. With the level of mutation and the activation level of the beast machine that has occurred on this planet, we weren't able to go through into full crystal body activation. That's why we've gone into progressively more remedial programs of trying to assist the grids, and now we're at the last chance stance, which is the aurora field, and thankfully it is there. And that was a gift a long time ago that was given to us by the ones from that other matrix, by the Bendy races and their hub races who came over and laid the potential for that, to this evac mode, to be available to us in the event that the Vecca fell. So anyway, next one. What did I have after that? Because that was just to do with this one. There's something I wanted to say on this. Okay, I'm not going to go through these heavily. I just wanted to point out, memory-wise, yeah, okay, I'll go, yeah, just, thank you. All right, just wanted to point out, this is some of the detail that when we were talking in K23, when we were talking about shields and shield structure and nodes and all those things, all of the shields that we talk about, remember there are 5 main shields in every Cathara grid. It implies there are 5 main shields, one, at each of the crossbar levels, the Iyumbi, the Azure, the Rajna, and then there's one on top at K12, and there's one down underneath at the K1 level. Every one of them has a base. This is just the base structure. This is without all the detail, right? This is the base configurations of a shield. If you looked at it as a plate and you put that plate down and looked at it this way, your horizontal shields, that would be the configuration that they carry. They would also have a counterpart that if the one shield was laying this way, there would be another one standing up through it this way. So there's arcs of energy that would form between the horizontal one that would run like a disc here and a vertical one that was this way. There would be all sorts of arcing of energy between the shield levels. So this was just to remind you that all the shield levels are very, very complex catharic structures as well. It is through the shield structures that the intimate codings are put in that will determine what one race line is compared to another and what one manifestation is compared to another. But all manifestations of the Christ originally start with these, and from there detail is put in that allows for individuation of form and intention and type of being or thing that's going to be manifest. But everyone shares a common template. It is this common shield template that when there is damage done to the gene code, when there is damage done to a Stargate system, what is being damaged is the natural core structure of this template. And what has happened in this Vecca system has been progressive. Each density level has progressively incurred so much damage to its universal level shield that it could not hold the frequencies even of repair anymore. And our gene code has a small version of this. Our DNA template actually has to do with the center part of the shield, an area called the Rushate program. All right, the Rushate program is also what runs the center vertical column that runs up and down through the body, and also runs the spirals from the Rushate that phase together, open and close, to form the chakras. So all these things are connected, but I wanted to remind you that these shields are very complex when we talk about the shields. They each have very specific, in their natural order, each of the 5 shields in one Cathara grid have specific natural orientations as to what part of them, where their numbers are, because they have 12 nodes around them, and you have the 12th position and the 6th position. This is how, when we were teaching Merkaba, we teach you that look down at your Maharic shield. Your Maharic shield is like the horizontal one you're standing on. The 6 will be in front of you, and the 12 will be behind you. The 3 is over to your left, and the 9 is over to your right. There are specific ways that if you're going to work with energy, it helps to know some of the shield structures, so we did teach that. I wanted to remind you that it was there, and that there were specific alignments that are supposed to occur in the natural shield rotations, Maharic shield and the density 4 shield. The Maharic shield below your feet, which is actually part of your ethos shield as well, is supposed to be in the same alignment as your density 4 shield. And then there are 45-degree turns of where the start spin position would be, and when they're all aligned, they start spin position. That creates the natural dynamic and the natural base pulse rhythm, or how often what passes what to make what sparks to build what quantum how often. All right, all of this controls the time wave that you will be riding on. We have been in a mutated time wave built upon a mutated Cathar grid that was mutated by the Metatronic code and all the pieces of that code, and we are going to progressively now be getting back the natural base pulse rhythm, which means the natural shield alignments will be starting to come into play. You may at some point actually feel a burst of energy come either up or down through your central vertical column, feel a heat flash in one of your chakras, front or back, maybe even side, sometimes all at once, right? All front, back, and side. We go, ouch, right? And you will feel a shift in the shield closest, right? I felt one that came up immediately. It was like the 4 chakra, the 4 vortices, the horizontal ones just went poof, and like they're like jet flames when they do it. Your skin immediately gets this coating of like very uncomfortable sweat, and it feels like lava skin. Had one of those happen, and then I felt this whoosh of my shield going around, my density 2 level shield. It just spun, and I'm not usually even consciously aware of the feel of my shield in my field. I know it's there kind of thing, but it just went, whoa, whoa, that was wild. And then there's other ones. The shields can be put at different angles. Eventually we'll learn to drive our flame bodies by moving the shields in different directions, where this one is really great for general navigation purposes, right? And I wouldn't doubt, since we learned to do our Merkabahs manually first, with spinning our bodies, I wouldn't doubt at some point, if we're flying around like airplanes, getting used to feeling the modulation that happens here when you move that disc of the shield around here. And of course there's these too. When you modulate chakras, you modulate all sorts of things, everything from speed of your various parts of your light body to where you're going to go, what direction you're going to go, up, sideways, in, out. All of these things have to do with modulating consciously the apparatus that is part of your anatomy. So we'll learn how to do these, but we are going to go back into, as the chakras begin their core reset, where their core structures that have been damaged by the Metatronic code will progressively begin to heal rapidly because of the Aurora Force interface. They will start to put the shields back into their natural start spin position, and from that position they can pick up a natural spin from the Aurora Force and from the Eartha shield as Earth begins to pick up her momentum in preparation for Starfire. Next one.